My guest on Face to Face is a former member of parliament for Subin. He also served as a deputy minister in the Kufuor administration. Now, he wants to be general secretary of the party. The Honorable Eugene Boakye Antwi is my guest. You're welcome to Face to Face.
Thank you, Maru.
How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm well. How is your position? You are looking fresh. What happened?
Is it that fresh?
You've got some...
I don't have worries. I guess.
Why don't you have worries? You got defeated like you've never been ever by any political party in this country. You should be worried.
Well, I'm not worried because some of us, we anticipated it. And you see, if you fail to listen to the people, they punish you. So as a politician, you must constantly be listening, constantly be hearing people out. And that's what you fail to do.
It's interesting when you make a comment like that because you were not just a member of parliament, you were also serving in the government, even though you were a deputy minister.
In the first term.
Yeah, in the first term. Is it the case that the first term of Kufuor was good, the second term was bad?
Well, we have to be very frank with ourselves. The best years of Kufuor's 8 years were 2018, 2020, before COVID struck. Those were his best years.
Were they his best years because he was listening to people or because there was no disaster to test his leadership? What went wrong after 2020?
I'm sure because, you see, in your first term, you are expected to be voted for the second term. So you are working towards your second term. So there's more cooperation.
You play nice.
Yes. And because you know you have to go and face the electorate again, you are careful of certain mistakes. But in the second term, because you're not going to contest again, I think all hell broke loose and it cost us.
I'll ask you how bad it was, but before then, since we've mentioned this second term, first term thing, let me just ask your view on John Kufuor had proposed in the past that we should have a one-term presidency where you have, what is it, 7 years?
5 years.
5 years. Do you think that maybe that could be the solution?
Not necessarily, but in 4 years you can't do much. So President Kufuor is right to a large extent. Because in the first 2017, 2018, we were just struggling to find our feet in government. You understand? But 2018, moving into the first, second quarter of 2019, were the best years because we had weaned ourselves off the IMF. We would go to the international market to borrow money. We could then embark on serious infrastructural projects and what have you before COVID struck. So the economy was on the right track before COVID struck.
Yeah.
COVID struck, and then, you know, all hell broke loose. We then had to introduce more austere policies like e-levy, betting tax, and what have you. And those kind of policies didn't help. Because remember in the 2021-22 budget, the then finance minister told the nation that he was going to rely on 2 revenue streams, the property rate and then the e-levy. So he didn't have to go to IMF. But that didn't materialize. So then we were back at IMF. And then after the IMF, there were other austere policies like the DDEP and what have you. The President, Nana Addo Kufuor at the time, addressed the nation and assured our savers and pensioners and investors of no haircuts. Then there were haircuts. And the haircuts, it wiped away investments, it wiped away pensions, it wiped away savings. And that hurt us very badly.
But the test of...
So it just didn't impact the economy. It wounded us.
But the test of a leader is when there is chaos or confusion. Does it mean that your party's leadership failed when there was chaos, as in Ukraine war, COVID pandemic? That was what we wanted to see, true leadership. The president said he knew how to bring economies back, but not lives. But it appears he never managed to bring the economy back.
Yeah, well, I think COVID was a downhill. We went downhill from then. And that was when some of us advocated for the replacement of the then finance minister, because we felt the economy was going to be the acid test of the 2024 elections, or the litmus test of the 2024. So we had to replace him and get somebody fresh to come. And because see, if you tell the donor partners that you have the capacity, you have the resources, Ghana was too capable, Ghana was too this to go to IMF, and then you end back at IMF, clearly there will be a deficit of credibility here. You understand? And in the eyes of the international community, our donor partners, they were looking at credibility, right? And some of us believe that he had lost it. These were his own words, right? And then, because the finance minister wasn't replaced, it led to more austere policies like the DDEP and our external creditors, all the infrastructural projects had to come to a halt. We couldn't develop most of our strongholds, and that all impacted on the results. It's all captured in the data.
Yeah, but the data also does not say necessarily like Ken Ofori-Atta is a problem. So was it Ken Ofori-Atta who was a problem or Akufo-Addo? Which of the two cousins was?
You see, you blame Ken, but who bears the ultimate responsibility? Who did the Ghanaians vote for? Everybody holds a position in government, whether it's a Kufuor or John Mahama, at the behest of the president. You understand? So Kufuor appoints, and he's the only person to disappoint you.
But why? Okay, was it a case that he was not listening? Because you said that you were warning, like you said, it's like you were on the Titanic. You saw the iceberg. You were telling the captain, but didn't bother. Is it a case that the captain wasn't interested, or was he blocked from hearing the?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
What was the problem?
That's why I'm saying that in the second term, all certain presidents in the second term tend to be on autopilot. I'm sure if the Ken Ofori-Atta matter had happened in the first term, the president would have acted because he was looking at the second term, and that would have probably informed his decision. You understand? Because nobody can say that we didn't lose this election because of the economy. And I'll give you a soundbite. And the domestic debt exchange didn't just impact the economy; it wounded trust. We must never again put pain without dialogue. Well, the Ghanaian people were told that there were going to be no haircuts. That was a clear statement of intent from the president.
So there was a breach of trust.
Of course. And then the next minute, DDP had been introduced. So they lost money. They lost savings, investment, and pensions. And we saw a former CJ picketing at the Ministry of Finance.
For the first time in our lives.
And that alone, the optics, it policies our perception. So the optics weren't good. And that cascaded down and affected our electoral fortunes.
Yes, but the question is, and we are still talking about leadership, Akufo-Addo's leadership. This man wanted to be president since 97. I was, 8 years old, or I'm not sure if I was even up to that old. For 20 years, he's been in the wilderness wanting to be leader. Clearly, he had something and knew something. That's why his party pushed him and made him president eventually in 2017. Where did all those skills that we're told about, all the characteristics of this man that we're told about, where did they all go that he becomes president and suddenly, I mean, the physically challenged people in the toll booths were crying, people in the banking sector were crying, DDP people, a former chief justice was complaining, what went wrong? When? How?
But Umaru, is very different contesting for a position and very different your actions and decisions when you are given the position, clearly. So I don't think, it's 8 years, I believe, ended, and our performance is captured in the data. So I don't think there's any point belaboring that. You've all seen the 8 years of Ronaldo. I've told you that I was a member with him for 8 years, member of parliament with him for 8 years. I was a deputy minister with him for 4 years. Yeah. So his best years, so far as I'm concerned, as an insider, were 2018 and 2019. Then COVID struck. So things went downhill. We went into the 2020 elections limping. And then the unfortunate thing happened in 2024. So we have been alerted by the good people of this country that all wasn't well going to the 2020 elections. That's why we had a split parliament.
I saw Musa Dankwa yesterday put out a poll in which he said that your goodwill is going down still as a party. Many of your party members are jumping ship.
It's good you've brought this thing up again. At this current state, John Dramani Mahama has the goodwill of the people. And nobody can take that away from him. You just come out of an election 6 months. 184 members of parliament.
Huge.
56, 7%. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. So at this stage, it's like a woman falling in love with a man. At the beginning of it, there's nothing to shake that woman
whatever you tell
to even listen to advice. You understand? But it's politics. If we give the NDC time, if we give President Mahama and his NDC time, in the course of time, they will start exposing themselves. For example, Galamsey. The very people who were saying that Nana Kufuor should declare a state of emergency, Nana Kufuor should do this shoot and kill policy and what have you. Are the same people in government now? Why are they not talking? Galamsey is still going on. Just before you came here, I was watching Joy News. I was listening to Erastus Donkwasare. And Galamsey is still ongoing. So it shows you that it wasn't an MPP problem. It's a Ghanaian problem.
We have talked about how second terms are usually the last terms of presidents and they could decide not to be bothered. If Kufuor lost, or the MPP lost because of Kufuor's second term, do you foresee NDC suffering as a result of Muhammad's second and final term?
Yes, that's what I said. You see, that's what I said.
What if he decides, he said he's resetting, he could decide to make a difference?
No, but you see, what I said to you, or what I've told other witnesses, where people are twisting, is that as we speak, 6 months into his government, he has the support of the country. And nothing would shake that support base. Understand? Well, Ghanaians have just come out of an election. And he has the numbers to prove that he has the goodwill of the people. You understand?
He has authority.
And that is what the MPP people must understand. I didn't say that his performance, I didn't talk about performance. I said that he has the goodwill. It's different about his performance. He has the goodwill because it's only 6 months ago that Ghanaians went to propose to vote for him. And not only him. Look at the members of parliament that he got. Unprecedented in the history of our country. So you have to look at all these indicators and say, look, you know what? Let's give him the time to work.
But would that mean you should go on vacation, don't criticize,
no. I'm not saying that.
Don't go on demonstrations.
I'm not saying that, but look at what is happening. People are being dismissed left, right, and center, right? And still, Ghanaians are not complaining. You understand? And there are other factors in the system which should really anger Ghanaians, but they are not because he has the goodwill. But I'm not sure that in 18 months' time, we will talk about these same factors.
So are you saying that let's be quiet and watch? Is that
I'm not saying that. But we must criticize with maturity and experience.
Let
me tell you something. MPP should not be jumping up and down because a member of the party has been invited to go to Yoko.
They shouldn't go and demonstrate.
I'm not saying that. I'm not talking about demonstration. We should not be jumping to every single case that's being conducted by the state agencies.
Why?
Umaru, sometimes there may be no case at all. By the fact that I'm invited to appear before NIB doesn't mean I'm a criminal. Maybe it was a document I signed at the ministry, which they want more information from as part of their investigation. Right? But we should also send a message to Ghanaians that MPP is not a sanctuary or a haven for criminals. Do you understand what I mean? Because we have a nation to build. And if somebody has been invited, just because he was a minister, a deputy minister, or an agency head, to go before BNI or Yoko or the Attorney General to answer questions, why should we be making it appear that the whole party is under siege and everybody is being invited? Yes, if I've been invited, I was a member of the government for the first 4 years. I've been a member of parliament. Why hasn't anybody invited me? But if I'm invited tomorrow to appear, I will go because I know I have nothing to hide. Do you understand? And that should be the refrain. We shouldn't be thinking that everybody arrested, we should be massing up, and no, we should allow the state agencies to work. If
you were Alexander Afenyomarkin, the leader of the minority now, would you have led your members to go sit at the frontage of Iyoko when Chairman Wontumi was arrested?
But Umaru, you said if I were, but I'm not. I'm Eugene Boakye Antwi.
And I'm asking this because of what you have just said. So no, that is what has happened now. Is this something place. You agree with?
No, but it's only one out of many. There are so many people who have been invited to the NIB. Yes, one of them, the whole party went there. To me, the solidarity is good. But you see, Ghanaians are also watching us. Well, if indeed somebody has committed a crime against the nation and you are supporting that person, it will go against us electorally. Do you understand? Because Ghanaians are also very, very keen observers of whatever is going on in the political space. Right? The fact that some are being arrested, with cameras and everything on them. The fact that people's homes are being invaded and what have you, does not mean that these people are criminals. We've seen it all before. Once there's a change of government, people rush into homes, this kangaroo, whatever. But in the end,
the court will decide.
The court will decide because we have the lawyers to support these people to go to the courts.
It's good you mentioned the courts. The head of the judiciary is on trial, the Chief Justice. What's your comment on what's happening?
My comment is that Article 46 mandates the president to do what he's doing. But we also have to look at it from the point of the Chief Justice in the last press conference. So I listened to the entire program.
The press conference.
Yes. What we should do is that even in the courtroom, the judge sits there and listens to both sides. So whatever evidence that they have against this lady must be given to her to be able to respond to them. And if indeed, because he was calling for a televised
which is a
yes.
breach of the Constitution according to the government.
You see, if you say it's a breach, then they must allow her to also vent, because we don't really know what is going on in there. Her phones are being seized, her spouse is being prevented from entering the room. We are hearing all manner of things. That is why we say, look, if indeed she has committed a crime, nobody will support her. But if indeed she has not, but she's being harassed by the nation, people are just sending dubious petitions and, hateful petitions against the person, then we must all be worried about the future of our judiciary in nation building. Because we don't want somebody to be targeted because of her being appointed by the previous regime. And in the Fourth Republic, President Kufuor made Justice Aban and worked with him. Justice Aban left, and all these Supreme Court President Mills came and made Judge Nawood work with her. So what has changed? So people who have a vendetta against this woman, they should search their conscience. Well, if indeed she has committed a crime, nobody will support her. But I believe she has answered almost all the things against her. All the allegations against her have been answered. And she's proven that the things that are being put out there are not true.
Do you get a sense that there's vindictiveness against former government appointees and now the Chief Justice as well?
I won't use the word vindictiveness. I will say that if an allegation is made, we are all well-meaning people. Let's look at what the evidence is before we jump to conclude.
You are sounding very moderate, but that could be interpreted by your party members to mean you are against the NPP, sympathetic of the NDC. What would you say to that?
Sympathetic? Why am I sympathetic of the NDC?
That you are being kind. You are not being attacking.
No, but why should... You see, the thing is that I've been a member of parliament in this country for 8 years. I've been a deputy minister. I'm not an ordinary Ghanaian who just jump on a propaganda bandwagon. You understand? If things come to me, I have to internalize it. But they tell us that the opposition's job is to oppose. No, so you oppose because of what? So if today Umaru was an NPP minister under Kufuor, indeed Umaru has stolen state money, right? And then I jump to your defense, and then I'm shown the evidence that indeed Umaru, got himself involved in a contract. You still defend me because we are from the Elephant Party? No, I wouldn't defend you. So that's not your kind of politics? No, because you see, I'm saying that Ghanaians vote for us. Not all those who vote for us are MPP. Bear that at the back of your mind. Okay. There are so many fucking voters in this country. Ghanaians vote for us because we're a decent lot. You understand? So if I go and stand out there to defend somebody who has clearly embezzled state funds or stolen state funds, then what am I saying to the party? That the MPP has now become a sanctuary or a haven for criminals. Based on what you have said now, may suggest that you have no problem with the Akufo-Addo appointed special prosecutor going after the Akufo-Addo appointed finance minister. No, but we passed the law. It was my tenure as an MP. Yeah. He passed the law. And if he's doing his work, what is wrong with it? The fact that he's going after someone doesn't mean he has a case against the person. They say it's vendetta of a kind. Well, if it's a vendetta... They say it's family feud. Whatever it is, when the man is well, you come home and face the law. He says the man is well, he's just pretending and, we don't know that. And being a fugitive of justice. We don't know that. Do you think the SP is being unnecessarily harsh in the matters relating specifically to Kenneth Ofori-Atta? Well, you see, we don't know, like I said, we don't know the kind of evidence he's sitting on. So it's not fair on my part to jump. Because he's come out with 5 clear charges, right? Mm-hmm. And apparently some GRA heads have been arrested and detained, mm-hmm. and what have you. So maybe he has, strong evidence, in these matters. Okay. And we don't know. Okay. So that's what I'm saying, that we must tread cautiously. Very well.
This is Face to Face on Channel One Television. My guest is Honorable Eugene Boakye, Antwi, former MP for Subin, former Deputy Minister. We've talked so far about the key things leading up to the defeat of the NPP, the state of affairs now and what's happening in Mahama's first term. When we come back, how can they steer the NPP ship back onto victory lines? He wants to be a leader of the party. Is he the solution to the party's problems? Again, choosing a flag bearer. Should that be done before local executives are chosen, or local executives should be chosen before national executive? The party has chosen the former. Does he agree with the party? Please stay with us.